Hey, it's King Kaiju here, and today we are going to take a look at a very interesting aspect of the career of John Carpenter. Now, John Carpenter is one of the most iconic and legendary directors of our times. He established himself as a pioneer in a wide range of genres, from horror with the original Halloween to sci-fi with The Thing to social commentary with They Live. His resume is just hit after hit of classic films. There are few other directors that can boast of a resume that includes all those films in addition to The Fog, Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness, Christine, Big Trouble in Little China, and In the Mouth of Madness. Now, Carpenter was primarily active in the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s, kind of switching over to music afterwards with some film stuff. Nonetheless, you would think that he might have benefited from the perceived Wild West mindset that many think existed in the movie industry at that time, but instead, we now have proof the studio heads back then were just as stupid as they are now. So in an interview with Variety magazine, John revealed some of the notes he got from studio heads on his films, and they reveal a staggering level of ignorance of what makes films entertaining and a willingness to forego all creativity in the name of doing something utterly safe and predictable. All right, so we start off with Big Trouble in Little China. Now, this film finds Kurt Russell in the role of Jack Burton, and Jack Burton finds himself tied up in the crazy supernatural underworld of Little China, and this is a hilarious camp classic. If you have not seen this, you must check it out. There's so much good in this one, with some of the most humorous lines, situations, and creatures in any John Carpenter film. Now, the studio has chimed in with the idiotic request of, quote, "Can we cut out the comedy in this?" Unquote. In the Mouth of Madness, starring Sam Neill, is one of the most clever works inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and, in many ways, launched the modern-day obsession with what is real, what is fantasy or an illusion or a simulation, the whole Matrix thing. Now, regardless of the accolades, this is one of the best entries in that genre, with one of, if not the most mind-bending endings that I refuse to spoil here, just in case someone hasn't seen it. The ending is that good. So, what does studio heads have to say? Well, of course, they would like John Carpenter, quote, "cut the whole ending," unquote. Well, not only the favorite of his own films, but The Thing oftentimes will make the list of one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. Once again partnering with Kurt Russell, and once again shining through in this tale of a group of men that are dealing with a shape-shifting alien menace in a remote Arctic ice station. Now, this thing features some of the best practical effects of all times, had this insane atmosphere, great acting, great story, and an incredibly ambiguous ending that has people talking about it to this day, 40 years later. Now, this classic was met by the studio heads with a resounding, quote, "Well, you know what? It would be great if you have this big orchestra playing while they're killing the Thing." But it seems social commentary is all the rage these days. 99% of the time it is done horribly wrong. But go back to 1988 and John Carpenter not only tackled social commentary at the time in an absolutely perfect way, he created a classic that is just as relevant, if not more so, today than it was at the time of its release. The messaging today is no longer subliminal, as it has now moved to the overt. However, the studio heads still couldn't wrap their heads around the evils of capitalism taken to the extreme, so they said, quote, "Why don't you make them cannibals from outer space instead?" While it may not have been the first horror movie to create the final girl trope, it is definitely the best, and every horror film made after it, in some vein, owes a debt of gratitude. John Carpenter's Halloween set the tone, set the bar, and it was absolutely terrifying from the first frame to the last, introduced us to the icon himself, Michael Myers, and the studio had one simple line of feedback, quote, "This is not scary," unquote. Now, take it individually, you might just say an executive or two just didn't get it. But for such stupidity to be spouted forth on so many classic films shows that studio heads have always been ridiculously out of touch with the art that they claim to champion. Now, I once had a discussion with this about a Hollywood producer of some note, and his opinion was an interesting one. He put forth to me the idea that studio heads are not, in fact, film and TV fans. They're hardcore business people. They're generally older with little to no interest in pop culture whatsoever, and no understanding of the hero's journey or any of the tools used by writers and directors to create the artworks that they do. So his idea was that they really can't be expected to know such things. However, I did have to counter that with, then why would they be put in charge of a company that only makes money from creative people? So it seems the issue of studio heads not understanding the works of art they oversee is nothing new and clearly not going away anytime soon. But hey, let me know what you think about John Carpenter, these quotes, the studio heads as a whole, or any other idea related to this in the comments section below. Hey, let's talk about it. Obey your king. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification icon.